Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Ask Pastor Pop. I'm here with my dad once again, Pastor Pop himself. How are you?
I'm doing great, kid. How are you?
I'm good. I can tell by the cross on your forehead that you've already gotten your ashes. Today is a pretty big day for the Christian calendar. Today is Ash Wednesday. I'm uploading this on Ash Wednesday, so pretty great timing for our episode. I honestly just want to get right into it. Dad, could you explain for those who don't know, what is Ash Wednesday? What is Lent? And how did those two things start?
Yeah, so Lent is a season of preparation for Easter. Lent starts on Ash Wednesday, and then for the next 46 days, Christians spend time in repentance and prayer, focusing on their need for Jesus to die on the cross and rise from the grave on Easter morning. And it's one of two what's called penitential seasons in the liturgical calendar or the Christian calendar. The first penitential season is Advent, where we're preparing for the birth of Christ. And then the other is Lent, where we're preparing for the death and resurrection of Christ. And that word penitential, it really just means repentance. And what repentance is just focusing on our need for Jesus to show up and do what he came to do, which is to live, die, and rise for us. And Ash Wednesday, as mentioned, is the day that kicks off that Lenten season. And it's a day where traditionally Christians declare to themselves, to the world, and to God their mortality, their sinfulness, and their need for Jesus. And that's what this is a symbol of. The ashes are a symbol of our sin and our mortality. And the fact that it's in a cross is a declaration of the fact that we believe Jesus is the answer to the problem of sin and the reality of death. So it's both a declaration of all that's broken and wrong in us and around us, but also a proclamation of our hope. That's Jesus. And the roots of it are deeply biblical. Deep in the Old Testament, in places like Job, for example, you'll see people using ash, or sometimes maybe even dirt, as a symbol of their mortality and their repentance. So when someone is really sorrowful over sin, you might see them, a description of them covering themselves in ash as a way of declaring to the world and to themselves and to God that they're sinful and broken and mortal. And you also see in the very beginning in the book of Genesis, you see ashes or dirt connected to our mortality. So when after Adam and Eve fall into sin and death becomes a reality for all of humanity, you hear God say, from the dust you came and to the dust you will return. And so from that moment forward, dust and dirt became a symbol of our mortality, the fact that though we are living, we eventually will die. And so followers of Jesus, people of faith, have since the very beginning connected dust and dirt to repentance, a recognition of our mortality, and a declaration of our sinfulness and our need for God to show us his grace. Now, when it comes to when did the observance of Lent begin and when did the imposition of ashes on the forehead and sign of the cross begin, there's not really a clear date as to when that started. Most scholars believe that round about the 4th century, so maybe like the 300s AD, is when this became a tradition of the church, the season of Lent, and with it, the imposition of ashes.
300 AD is a very long time ago. I love
Long
that
time
we're
ago, yeah.
still long time ago. I love that we're still carrying on that practice of the imposition of ashes. I know, like you said, it's a sign of our mortality, and that's something. I mean, today I was walking around campus and I could see so many people with the sign of the cross on their forehead, and this is for sure something that people associate with Lent every year. But another part of Lent that people tend to think of is people are always talking about, what should I give up for Lent? What should I bring into my life for Lent? And that's always a big topic of discussion. I'm always like nervous trying to decide what to give up. I mean, should we, and why do we give up things for Lent? And how do we go about deciding what to give up or bring into our life?
Yeah. So the idea of fasting from things, this is what you're talking about when you say giving something up. You're fasting or stopping doing something is itself deeply biblical. So the practice of fasting from food, from water, from something that usually kind of gives you life and sustenance, we see that all over the scriptures. Jesus himself did this. So when Jesus was in the desert being tempted for 40 days, he was fasting from food and water. In fact, the 40-day journey of Lent is kind of modeled after Jesus' own time in the desert, where he was being tempted and he was struggling, sinless and perfect, but tempted and being and struggling on our behalf. And during that time, he was fasting and going without. And so our own Lenten journey is kind of modeled after that in some ways. So the idea of fasting as a way of connecting with your mortality and getting in touch with your weakness and your finiteness as a human being, and also reminding yourself of your sinfulness, is a long-standing practice. And that's really what it's about. We go without something that we love and we need as a way of reminding us of, in its absence, of just how dependent we are as creatures on so many things, how weak we are when we go just one day without food or water, and how mortal we are. Because when you're going without something that you love, like say caffeine, or, if you have cake for dessert every single night, the second you start going without that, you realize, boy, I am dependent, weak, mortal, addicted. I am all these things. And getting in touch with that need reminds you of just how much we need Jesus to forgive us, but also to resurrect us. Because the great promise of Easter is that what happens to Jesus on Easter morning will happen to all of us when he returns. There's a resurrection and a recreation waiting for all of us. And so the practice of going without, of fasting, is a way to reconnect ourselves to our need for Jesus as sinful, mortal human beings. It's not a way of trying to demonstrate your spiritual strength. Look how great I am. I can go without this, or this. Quite the opposite. It's about getting in touch with your weakness. And so when people ask, what should I give up for Lent? Should I do that? Really what I say is, think of something that you enjoy, something that you maybe depend on a daily basis, that you can, without doing too much harm to yourself, you can give up, that would, in its absence, remind you of just how much you need Jesus. And let the space that creates, the hunger that it creates if you go without one meal a day for the next, 40 some odd days, that's the space that creates. Let it create some space for a moment of prayer and reflection of, like, man, I am reminded in this moment where I'm going without lunch. I'm eating breakfast and dinner, but I'm reminded in this moment where I'm going without lunch of just how much I need you, Jesus. So thank you for what you're about to do on the cross and in the empty tomb. That's really what it's for. But then also remember, so part of this practice of giving stuff up is that we don't go without these things throughout all of Lent. The time between Ash Wednesday and Easter morning is 46 days. But the fasting of Lent, if you take part in fasting, is only meant to be 40 days. Why is that? It's because there are 6 Sundays in the season of Lent, and every single Sunday is a celebration of Easter. Every single Sunday, even the Sundays in Lent, are still a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. So on Sundays, even in Lent, it's okay for us to break the fast, and for us to still celebrate those things and enjoy those things. That's one of the things people forget about. The fasting of Lent, the observance of Lent, is 40 days, but it happens within a 46-day window between Ash Wednesday and Easter. That's because Sunday is meant to be still a celebration where we break the fast and we get a little preview of Easter Sunday.
Yeah, I honestly completely forgot about that.
Most people do.
Honestly. Yeah, that's actually really important. So thank
Yeah.
you for that reminder. That's really great.
Now some people celebrate it differently and things.
Yeah.
But that's what it's there for. That's really typically how it's done. The other thing I want to remind people of is that, number one, things like observing Lent or the rite of ashes or fasting, these are not sacraments. These are not things that are mandated by Jesus and that carry some kind of spiritual power, like, say, baptism or the Lord's Supper. These are just rites, rituals, traditions of the church that are more like spiritual disciplines. They're just good things to practice that get us in touch with who Jesus is and how much he loves us and all that he's already done for us. That's really what it's there for. So don't feel like it's a mandate, like you have to do this, or you have to go without, or you have to get to church every Wednesday night in Lent. If you want to, great. I highly encourage it. But it's not a mandate. It's not a mandate, as we see with other things like, get baptized, go to the Lord's Supper, right? Those are gifts that Jesus says, take these things. These are just like spiritual disciplines and practices of the church.
Yep. Don't feel pressure.
No, that's the opposite of what you should do.
No,
that's not
that is
what
not
Lent's
the
about.
point of the season. No,
Not at all.
do not feel pressure. And then with all of that, with Ash Wednesday being a big day in the Christian calendar, and then us fasting, like you said, both of these things, they help us prepare for Easter, and give us the right heart posture during the Lent season. But just from a pastor, what should we keep in mind as we enter this season? What should we be mindful of as we enter Lent, and prepare for Easter?
Yeah. I think the number one thing that we should keep in mind, the right kind of posture, the right, so to speak, posture of the heart during Lent, is one of brutal honesty. We are always invited to be really, really honest with ourselves and with God. But during Lent, there's kind of this extra invitation to just drop all the pretense, let go of all the fooling yourself and fooling others that goes on. We spend so much time in our life trying to prove to ourselves and to the world and even to God that we're good, that we're right, that we're worthy, that we're strong, that we're capable. We work hard at our job or at school or in the gym to try and prove to ourselves and everybody else, I'm good, I'm right, I'm moral, I'm fit, I'm great. And what Lent invites us to do is, if you give up anything, give up that fight for 40 days. Give up that fight of trying to prove to yourself and everybody else that I'm enough, that I'm worth it, that I'm awesome, that I'm crushing it, that I'm killing it, that I'm happy, that I'm successful, that I'm righteous. That's really what it is. Self-righteousness, the constant endeavor of the human soul. Lent is an invitation to just say, you know what? I'm weak. I'm messed up. I do things I shouldn't do. I refuse to do things I should do. I'm anxious. I'm greedy. I'm dying. Every day. You can admit those things and stop fooling yourself, stop fooling God. Just have a season of brutal honesty and enjoy the freedom that comes with that. It's meant to be a freeing thing. So as a pastor, that's the primary invitation that I put in front of people. It's just let your guard down, let it all go, and just experience the freedom of knowing, of saying rather, that you're a mess, that you're mortal, that you're bad, that you're broken, that you're dysfunctional. Just go ahead and admit that, because what that's going to do is then make the death and resurrection of Jesus, in which God accomplishes everything that you need out of life for you and gives it to you as a gift, it's going to make it that much sweeter. That much sweeter. When after a season of brutal honesty, Jesus still climbs up on a cross to forgive you and rises out of a grave to free you, and then looks at the world and looks at you and says, I did all of this for you. And you're like, even though I'm a total mortal mess, he's like, yeah, I did it because you're a total mortal mess. And I give the work of the cross and the victory of the empty tomb, I give it to you. It's yours forever and for free. It's going to make it that much sweeter.
I love it. That's so good. Makes it mean so much more. I love it. Well, Dad, I'm so glad that we got to talk about this on Ash Wednesday. I think that's perfect. It was great timing.
It's perfect, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, and I think you're going to church like right now, aren't you?
I am. I'm leaving in like 20 minutes. I'm going to go get my ashes. We'll twin.
Way to go. That's right. Way to go, kid. I love you.
I love you too. I'll see you next week.